Good morning, African Confessions. How are you? I am back with another episode. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this message reads like this. Good morning, Brother Nashi. How are you, my brother? I am from Accra, Ghana, and this is my confession. I was married to a young, handsome, very streetwise man. He was a very fast guy with eyes that moved very fast. Our firstborn child died when she was just a year old. Why? I don't know. It was just a strange death. So there was no social media in the year that my baby died, and not much information was shared about spiritualism and rituals. Old people would eat here and there, but we never had much information. So my daughter died in a very strange way, and I just accepted that it was nothing but a natural death. But when I look at the order of the events that led to the demise of my child, now I can see that this was my ex-husband's rituals. We lived in a town called Kumasi, and I am a small plus size woman, meaning to say I am a real African woman with love handles and gifted with all the assets a woman should have. One day I left Kumasi as our daughter had died and went to my parents' village to see my parents. I was not in a good space, and all that I wanted was to be away from home. And I told my husband that I am going to the village. I got onto the bus and we spent about 6 hours on the way. As you know, the buses to the villages, they stop at every bus stop, and it was very time consuming. Hence, we arrived about 6 hours later, but the distance was only about 300 kilometers from Kumasi. I got there and we got off the bus, and the bus continued to its final destination. And when we dropped off, I noticed that we dropped off with this other man. And this man, he had been looking at me so strange, and he had a paper that he continued reading. As we dropped off by the shop, this guy wasted no time, looked like he was a stranger in this place, and he started to ask for directions to a place that was close to my village. Then he departed. From the drop-off to my village, it was round about 10 kilometers or so. This was before many people had settled in that area, so it was mostly the road. When we got off from that place where there was a bus stop, you will then go into thick forest for about 7 kilometers. Then you will arrive into the village. By the bus stop, there was a lady who was going in the same direction as I was going. So we walked together whilst we were talking, chatting, and just laughing. Let me say that people in our village are really wonderful people. They were sober-minded. I grew up in this village, and there were never reports of thieves, rape cases, or murders, because in everywhere that you will go, it seemed as if everyone knew each other. We would greet, we would talk. So people were really sober-minded and very loving. We approached the thick forest, and it was kind of a very quiet forest. There was a possibility of you meeting one or two people. We will be walking to the bus station, but it was not a very busy road. As we walked, we were laughing and chatting. As I was talking to that lady, I met people who were also going to visit their parents. As we approached a cave, I heard movement, and the movement stopped. Then the movement began again. It felt like footsteps, and I could feel the presence of someone. It was like someone had been following us, or someone was just walking right behind us. I ignored it anyway. We didn't have cell phones to call anyone. Life was just difficult, especially on communication. Cell phones were not readily available to anyone. We continued walking, but now we were quiet and scared because we kept on hearing the movement. That time, my parents didn't know that I was coming. All of a sudden, there appeared a man. This man that appeared was standing in front of us, and he came charging into my direction. For a moment, we were all confused and we panicked and we started screaming. The other lady ran away, and I also ran away. in another different direction. Then the man went after me. He tried so hard to catch me, and eventually he tripped me, and when he tripped me, I fell down. He came for my neck. He really wanted to strangle me, and we had a really big fight. I tried to push him away, and because he was a man that was well built, I could not fight him. He had so much strength, and I could see his face in daylight. He fought so hard with me, and he continued strangling me, and I noticed that if I continue fighting with him, he was going to kill me. I pretended as if I was dead so that he can do whatever he wanted to do with me. This was a do or die situation, so I had to think very fast because he was very strong. I made a sound as if I was someone who was dying. Then I let go of his hand and I put my head on the side as if I was really dead. He stopped and he started talking to himself, and he said, "Yes, she is dead." Next, what he did is that he went for my underwear. Then he removed my underwear. Then he started to abuse me. I still had to think no one was coming to help me, and I could not run away because this man, from the things that he was doing, he seemed to be on a mission. So I just gave up. He did everything that he did with me. He raped me, and he seemed to enjoy it as if he was raping a dead corpse. When he was done, he took my panties and he wiped them. Then I had him take something like a small plastic. Then he took my panty and he placed my panty into that small plastic. Then he started saying, "Why did he send me to do such a thing?" Then he left. It seemed as if he was regretting the deed that he had done. I don't know what I was supposed to do at that moment. I was filled with mixed feelings, grateful to be alive, but heartbroken because I had never been humiliated like this. I laid there for about 30 to 40 minutes so that I could be sure if indeed he was gone. My body was in shock, and I continued lying onto the ground, and I had silence, no sound of any life. I opened my eyes slowly and I checked all the directions, and there was no one there. So I woke up, picked up my belongings that were scattered everywhere. Then I started to run back home. I ran for the next 3 kilometers. As I approached my parents' house, I cried with all my strength. My mother was shocked, imagining hearing the scream when you least expect it. It was a very sad day of my life. My parents asked what was wrong. It was quite a very sad day in my life. Then my parents, when they heard me screaming, they asked what was wrong. Then I started to explain everything that had happened to me whilst I was walking in that forest. At that point, it was not clear who had sent this man, and I stayed for 2 days sleeping. Then on the 3rd day, that was when my husband arrived. There was no one who communicated with him. It looked like he was waiting to be called to my funeral. He was disappointed to see me alive, and I looked in his eyes as he asked me, "You are alive." He said this in quite a very disappointed voice. I knew that he was the one who had sent that guy from the way that he had spoken with me. He started then talking to himself, and he said, "But that guy said you were dead. He had lost his mind." I asked him, "Which guy are you talking about?" But he didn't respond to me. I knew that something was not adding up. He then left back to Kumasi. I stayed for a month before I went back to Kumasi. When I arrived there, he was all happy to see me back, but still was bothering him. I went to sleep earlier on that day, and he came back home drunk, and he took a crochet knit, the one with a hook, and dived right on top of me. And when he dived right on top of me, he came for my neck. I fought so hard, and he was talking, saying, "This time you'll have to die." He tried so hard to kill me, to stab me, but he failed to kill me. I pushed him off the bed, and I knew that he wanted me dead. He was the one behind my child's death. Now he wanted me dead too, but why he wanted me to die, I didn't even know. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was forwarded to me by one of our admins. If you have any story that you want to share with us, please do not hesitate to contact us via our WhatsApp number, or you can use our email address. Strange things do happen in this world.